that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls.
Welcome to a scary edition of Get Your Pulls. Because we're outside. Summer 96. It's Muji.
It's Dan. And we are outside here at the compound once again. The weather's just been too nice to keep it indoors, really. I mean, we have this nice back porch studio set up. It's a real rustic, rural feel.
It is. Like, you could get bit by a critter in the middle of the pod. It makes the pod a little dangerous.
That's right. We're edgy.
Yes, exactly. Keeps us on our toes, so that's good. We missed last week, so we got 2 weeks worth of books. Lots of news been popping up. I guess with Comic-Con right around the corner, things are really ramping up, and they really like to. It seems like now it's like a race to announce things before Comic-Con, so that like places get exclusive scoops. Like, I'm wondering what the fuck DC has left to talk about, because every day they announce something new. But yeah, plenty of stuff. A lot of book changes coming. Some look good, some I don't know about, some are sad, some are just natural time going through, but I guess we'll start over at DC, as that news started coming out first. Man, a ton of stuff's going. Unfortunately, Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino's Green Arrow, their run is going to be ending in a couple issues. That is sad, because I've loved that book the whole time that they've been on it.
I just feel like they've barely touched the tip of the iceberg to what they're capable of in that story. So that's just highly disappointing to me.
It is disappointing, and I mean, you know, Lemire came on and said this is like our planned story, and that was, you know, that's where it was supposed to end and everything. So, you know, whatever with that. I mean, that's good, you know, but it is weird, and I know they're taking over. I don't know how I feel about this either, because I like them being very separate. Is that Andrew Kreisberg, I guess one of the writers from the Green Arrow TV show, is taking over the comic. There's already an Arrow comic that goes with the show, so like, you know, he already said something about keeping the things in sync. Like, I don't really want the book, the regular Green Arrow DC New 52 book. Doesn't really need to be in sync with the TV show, I don't think, because it's got its own separate thing going on.
Yeah, I think that would just create a lot of confusion. I mean, I think it's cool that they brought characters like Diggle into the comic book, and Shadow and others. I mean, they've really done a freaking magnificent job with that. But
it's a whole different thing. I mean, Oliver, the character, you know, I mean, he's similar, but not exactly the same from the show to the comic, and his little cast of characters is different as well. So I don't know, just more sad that Lemire's going to be off the book, and, you know, I'm not that interested with if that's what they're going to be doing, so that'll be a dropped one. I hope it's good, who knows, but that's one that I'm not pumped up for the change for. One that looks great is the new Batgirl team being drawn by someone named Babs. That's crazy. But it looks good, man. They've changed it. You know, they've almost like done the comic thing of like de-aging her a little bit without actually changing her age. She just looks kind of younger the way they're going to be drawing her. They've changed her almost like the Gotham version of she's going to grad school, and it looks like grad school is going to be in the part of Gotham that would be like Brooklyn. Like, they've made her a little bit hipster looking, you know. She's now wearing like the boots, and she's wearing like a leather jacket instead of like, you know, some sort of like spandex, you know, shirt, and her cape is like detachable, like it's a fashion accessory. But it looks cool though. Like, the art looks really cool on it, and it is like a, you know, a different direction. And you know, and it's funny too, because Gail Simone's off of it, you know, which last time, you know, people freaked out and stopped going to work and stopped eating, put on the hunger strike when Gail Simone came off the book, and then she was back on it in a couple of weeks. So apparently you know, she didn't like name names, but you could put the pieces of the puzzle together. Basically what happened is, as Katie Kubert was temporarily the editor over the Batman books before she decided to go to Marvel, which is another story you can see play out. Like you saw a few weeks ago, like on a Friday on her Twitter, she's like going to California for the first time ever. Wish me luck. And then like 3 days later, she's announced that she's moved to Marvel. She apparently went to the DC office in California and was like, I don't like it, and decided to leave and go to Marvel. And she's going to be working with Mike Martz again in the X office over there. But apparently, you know, Gail Simone wanted to like make the tone of the book lighter, make the character lighter, and she didn't want that. The editor, and then she's gone. Gail Simone said as much as like it was an editor who's no longer with us that was the reason that I quit the book, and so she quit just in time for the new person to make the book way lighter and her not be on it. So that was not good timing.
And I've liked Gail Simone's Batgirl a lot, but I will say that it's another. I guess hindsight's always 20/20, but in the New 52s, perhaps they should have just rebooted it with something like this to fucking begin with,
Yeah, I mean, when they started so many of the books, they wanted to, like, it was like a reboot and a renumbering, but they were keeping, like, the majority of stuff, and they're starting to change the tone, too. Like, it's very obvious that they're going a little bit away from the line-wide, like, the tone of every book needs to be the same, because that's something that they, for the most part, had for a really long time, and now...
That was my biggest complaint of the pre-New 52 DC universe, actually, was that...
Everything was kind of, like, goofy. Like, it was different. It was different than now, where people complain it's too serious. Like, everything pre-New 52...
Oh, no, I thought it was just the opposite. I'm talking Golden Age. I'm talking the last few years leading up to the change. Right. And there was a lot of convoluted shit for damn sure, like, because of all the continuity, like, and because of 4 different flashes.
I was going to say the Infinite Crisis books, but that was actually a book, but the multiple crises.
But they were just morose and grim, and like the whole fucking line was just people getting slaughtered all the fucking time, and
and everybody was 80 years old too. So that was also a problem. But that book looks cool, and then there's, 2 other Batman books that have completely different tones than like the regular New 52 just announced. We're going to have Jerry Dugan, who's getting a lot of work, and it'll be his first DC ongoing. He's doing Arkham Manor, which we'll see how they get to that, but somehow Arkham Asylum gets destroyed, and then they're going to use Wayne Manor, I believe, is the story for this, as the new Arkham Asylum. So
because nothing could go wrong then.
Oh no, having all the criminals, 10 feet away from the Batcave.
Nah.
Which is another thing we'll talk about in a minute. It seems that 1 billion people know who Batman is now, but that's, I guess, a different thing. But that book looks cool, and then what looks really awesome, and is the one that I may have to add, is Gotham Academy, which is going to be a book about a prep school in Gotham, where some of the kids that are going to the high school are, of relation to famous DC universe people, and where all the rich kids are going, and of course, all sorts of crazy stuff's happening.
That could be outstanding.
That's right down my line. It's almost like they're making like a CW show just about young Gotham. It sounds great. So, yeah, pumped for that. And it's set in the current DCU, so, like the TV show Gotham, it's set now, so, you could have somebody that, is accidentally the Riddler's kid or something like that, that's going to school. So, it looks really cool. Becky Cloonan is the person that's writing it, who has written some Batman backups that were really good. And the art on it looks really good, too. It's also being co-written with her, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who's also co-writing this Batgirl, the new Batgirl. So, Brendan Fletcher, that's the guy's name. So he's in both of these kind of lighter Gotham books. So that's all cool. And then there's going to be a new Deathstroke book. I think it totally makes sense with the popularity that character's kind of gone through. He's had, mostly due to the Arrow TV show, real resurgence. Just being a fig collector, all of his action figures are fucking super hard to find.
Well, you hit it right the perfect time, of course he was all in the first season of Arrow, but they teased him, and you thought you saw him, but you didn't, and you never really got to see him. And then when they got to the true Deathstroke in season 2, it was just like a fever pitch.
Yeah, and it's like a small scale version almost of like the Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. It's like a TV version where they got the right guy, Monty Bennett, to play Deathstroke, and they made him so awesome that now Deathstroke, he's like the one character that you hear rumored that could pop up in the movies, like as him. Like, he could actually be Deathstroke in the movies because he's just so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, right at the same time, of course, no popular video game franchise in the Batman Arkham franchise.
Yeah, and Deathstroke also awesome in that. Yeah.
In the Arkham Origins game, he's like one of the primary villains and is a featured character on the
Yeah.
box, and so it's like his stock has risen.
Yeah, that book's gonna be written and drawn by Tony Daniel, who's a fabulous artist.
One of the best artists in comics.
He's not a terrible writer. He's just not as good of a writer as he's an artist. I mean, he's written some Batman stuff I thought was pretty decent. Pre-New 52 that I've read, so we'll see. But yeah, he was one of the best artists. So it's good to have him on a character like that. And so that's pretty exciting news. And then I guess also since the last podcast they confirmed the rumor, which was like mini announced before, but got confirmed announcement of the new Wonder Woman team, which will be
I wasn't familiar with them, so
it's early famous artist right now. It's David Finch.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be drawing it, and is that right? And his wife is going to be writing the book.
Okay.
He just did Forever Evil, correct? Finch?
Yes.
Yeah, that's who it is then. Like, he's going to be drawing it, and it looks good. I mean, the drawing of it. And then, you've got the normal complaints of, like, why did you make her attractive? Because that's just what happens.
Why is the Amazon princess, who's the daughter of a goddess, attractive?
Why does she have breasts at all? But, that's one of those books where I feel like, and the sales have picked up over the past few, almost like since this announcement, and I know that Azzarello and Chang were like, this is when they always plan to leave. I mean, you look, we're talking about, they've been on the book for 3 years. They're going to have 30-something issues. I mean, that's a long run in today's modern comics.
That's a great run, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they got cut short or anything. But I know a lot of people really like it, but it's one of those books that, for a lot of the run, the sales didn't back up the people who claimed that it was the best DC book. When you're looking at Batman selling 100,000, Wonder Woman selling 40, you're like, well, Twitter is not, I think we don't realize, like, people, like, there's still a large amount of people who aren't active on social media. Because if you went by social media, then this Wonder Woman book, like Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, those would sell the most books, but they just simply don't. Like, that's not true. That's just the loudest people and the biggest fans, love, like, a lot of those books, and those are all great books, and I, get 2 of the 3, but it's...
Also, like, the internet comic community is a bubble unto itself, so it's not really representative of society as a whole, because there's a lot of people that aren't that community. There's a lot of people that only talk comics with their buddies who might read, or
people they know from the comic shop. Yeah, they don't go on the internet to talk about it. Yeah, I think that's mirrored, and we'll see how this Batgirl does, because I know I saw, they announced this new Batgirl, and, it looks cool, and it's new, and it's something different. And I saw multiple people being like, "Are you seeing this, DC? Like, this is what happens when you actually go outside the, the box, blah blah blah." Well, I do think it looks awesome, and I'm thinking about getting it, but we'll see what the numbers look like. If it doesn't sell anymore, then it's just that it so happens that the people
it's bitching like for the sake of bitching with no activism.
Exactly, and that's a big thing too, where like I do feel like a lot of people that like gripe about, like, we need more books. I know I'll just use this as an example. It's not bad towards a book. Like, I thought it's awesome. I mean, I've got, I've been picking up in trades like Captain Marvel and have really liked it so far. But that's a book where I constantly see people like, why can't we have more books like this? It's like, well, because it sold so few that it got relaunched. Like, we had to relaunch it. Like, you're not buying it. Like, there's obviously people who are talking about how much they like it that aren't buying it, or, aren't actually reading it. They just like the idea of, there being like more female-led comics. So, I mean, I think that's just the story for like a lot of comic people, man. The fans dictate like what books are going to come out. So if you like a certain type of book, then you got to put your money where your mouth is, because if you don't like the dark grim stuff, like if you hate, for some reason you don't like Snyder's Batman, which I mean, of course, I believe is still maybe the best book there is for superheroes. If you don't like that, then you got to buy the stuff that's not like that. You really, really, really love, As Earl as Wonder Woman, then it can't be the 60th best comic if you want more things to like have that tone in the future. And then they bring Finch on, and everybody, if you go by the internet's, the way the internet sounds, it's like, oh no, they're bringing this guy on, he's gonna sexualize and do all this. Well, The Dark Knight sold great, and Forever Evil sold great. So if Wonder Woman sells twice the copies, then that's the thing about art, is nobody's right. Like, what really matters in these books is like what sells. So
I saw a great quote from somebody on Twitter today. I think it was relating to the comic community. I believe it was a comic creator, but I failed to recall who it was, so I apologize for stealing this without giving the appropriate credit.
yeah,
But they said that anyone that bitches about commercial art companies being quote unquote in it for the money really needs to reevaluate that position just based on pure logic.
yeah. I mean, that's totally true. So I mean,
I agree, they're money making schemes and lots of them, but I mean,
and you can speak with your dollars if you feel that you keep getting fucked. Like, I know the way you're starting to feel a little bit with Deadpool, and you're thinking about dropping it, just drop the book. That's what you do. I mean, you stop buying their comics, but it has a lot to do with like wrestling, where people bitch about how much they hate everything that happens on Raw, and I mean, half the people watch it as they did 15 years ago, but for the last 5 or 6
my
years,
Facebook feed is
same
full
amount
of
of people.
the blow by blow
It's people
of
that
people bitching about
people
it.
watch it to bitch about it every week. It's like, if you hate it so much, then stop watching it. I guess we'll go to Marvel real quick. A couple of things, a couple of mini controversies from this week from Marvel. I guess we'll start with first the announcement today of Thor. There'll be a new Thor. It's gonna be a girl. I'm a little confused because I thought Thor was just Thor. Like, he's not the Green Lantern or Spider-Man, whoever, whatever. But apparently, the story is whoever wields the hammer just gets to have the name Thor. Not that Thor is Loki's brother and the son of Odin, but that just if you have the hammer, you're Thor. What's Thor's name now? I don't know. I have no idea what Thor's name's going to be.
It's still a Jason Aaron story, right?
And Jason Aaron's still writing it, so it could be awesome. Like, that's not really like the point on it. Like, I think like you're getting that book. I've enjoyed it completely. Like, he's a guy that I would give the benefit of the doubt to. Like, like as an example, if the books that I truly love, like if Snyder was like,
because that's a gaping plot hole in the Thor logic. So it's like he's got
he's got to have like a good idea. Like he said, I mean, they've really today. They're pre-defending, which I always hate because they've already thought up of like why this is whatever, why this isn't some sort of publicity thing, why it's whatever. Which, by the way, I mean, it could completely make sense with the story and completely be where the evolution of the story is supposed to go to and be the most logical thing to do, because I don't know where the story is going. But once you announce it on The View, it's a publicity stunt. Every time. If you go and announce it on a really heavily watched women's daytime talk show that's hosted by 5 women, because you're obviously trying to get women to buy the book Thor, it's a publicity stunt, and that's fine. Maybe not stunt so much as, but you rarely see like this type of like hype for something. So obviously that's the sell, is, hey ladies, female Thor's coming, buy the book. And that's fine because you need to sell as many comics as you want to. But I hate it when they're just like, no, this is just the most natural progression, and this is not a stunt. I mean, we went on The View. We went on Barbara Walters' show. We went and talked to Whoopi Goldberg about it. But it's just another comic happening. But yeah, I think it does fuck with the logic. I mean, I know that back in the day, Thor had different logic where it was just, the scientist guy in the early days turned into Thor or whatever. But
well, no, what the original was that it was similar to the first movie. It was very similar to the first movie. It was he was an asshole. He was scheduled to inherit the kingdom of Asgard, But he was an asshole, and his dad was like, "Nah, man, you can't fucking be the king till you learn some humility. So I'm gonna make you immortal." And he sent him down to Earth and made
Yeah.
him Donald Blake with no memory of who he was
Yeah.
or whatever. And he's a doctor and he's crippled and all
Yeah.
this other shit.
And he almost Shazammed in the Thor back then.
Well, he did. Well, like when he got his courage,
Yeah.
he used his fucking walking stick to
Yeah.
fucking find his inner Thor, and he'd fucking
Which is
come
different,
out.
but he's always been the son of Odin and the brother of Loki.
Yeah.
And he's just the same person. So yeah, this is like treating him like he's Spider-Man, like whoever finds the hammer is like putting on the suit. You know, which is whatever. Like my whole thing on it is like, I mean, I don't care. Like, I mean, I feel that you're totally justified if it's a book you've been getting, you love Thor, and now Thor's not going to be Thor. If you're just not interested and want to drop it, it doesn't mean you're some sort of like, you know, misogynistic asshole because oh god you won't keep buying this book that they're changing from what you like. You know, I just that seems to be the thing that makes me mad is the reaction. And of course you see this and then you go read the announcement of Thor and you know you look at like the feed from Jason Aaron who I follow on Twitter who's got like 100,000 followers and 9 or 10 people put something about oh Thor's a woman, you know, screw that, like I don't want the book, and then somebody reposts those 3 and makes that the reaction, like when, you know, he's got 100,000 followers, 99,997 didn't post anything like oh no a woman's Thor, but the 3 that did, they make the story and like see like this is always the problem. Yeah, it's the problem that like way less than 1% of people are assholes. Like I wish less than 1% of people were assholes everywhere. That would make the world way better. But that's like the immediate reaction is like it's the immediate defense of oh it's because they're making a woman. How about just it doesn't make sense to me and maybe it will but it doesn't. And as a consumer of the book, like if you think that's interesting and keep it, that's great. And if you're a big fan of Jason Aaron, then you say I'm going to give it a chance because I just believe in what he's going to do. But if you decide to drop it because you're like oh this isn't the book I'm getting, like I don't want it anymore, you should feel free to, and you shouldn't have to take shit for it. Just like by making it a woman, you know, Thor a woman, you know, don't be a dick about it, but you shouldn't take shit for not dropping it. Also, if you're a consumer, I mean, you can voice your opinion, you just can't be an asshole. You should be completely free to be like, I don't think this is going to make sense, like, Thor's supposed to be Thor, I hate that they're changing Thor. That should be a perfectly valid thing without comic book fans coming after you like, what? You know, like...
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, like I will give Jason Aaron the benefit of the doubt because it's been one of my absolute favorite books, and I can't think that he would screw up what he's built with this book. I just don't think it's possible. Now, what I kind of think it's going to be, based on my history, especially reading like the J. Michael Straczynski Thor and some of the Thor from like the mid 2000s, it may just be. I don't know that may be the case. I mean, maybe that's what they've said, and maybe it's true. But like, they did that with Loki a few years ago, and it was just some magic shit that made it was still Loki. He was just a fucking woman.
Well, Loki's always like the Norse, like Loki always had the ability to like gender change. Like that's him being a trickster. Like so his whole history is he could become a woman whenever he wanted to. So that's just yeah. So the actual like Norse god like can do that. That's part of the character. No, Thor, they 100%, and Axel Alonso made the big deal in like the interviews they've been doing all day. Is like she's Thor, like she's, and of course like she's not Thor, she's not whatever, she's not this and that. Well, when a dude's Batgirl, I can't wait for the press release of it's not he Batgirl, he's Batgirl. But anyways, these things just always like make me laugh so much. Like the things people like feel like they like need to defend, and then like it's just funny to me. But anyways, he's saying like no, like she is Thor, like she's the like they're gonna call her Thor. She's gonna get referred to as Thor. What the fuck is Thor gonna get referred to since that's his fucking God-given name? I don't know. I mean, I get the idea he's gonna be depowered. And he's going to be walking around. I saw a picture carrying like an axe because he doesn't have a hammer anymore. So he's just going to be a big, tough, badass dude that just isn't a god evil. Which is a perfectly legit storyline. Like, that's the story that makes sense to me is that he's fallen. But the big thing of like, and they're you know, and the big thing is like they're saying too, this is for the foreseeable future. Like this isn't like one little story. Like the plans are, is that you know whoever, which I'm guessing is gonna end up being Angela, but we'll see. Is gonna be Thor ongoing for like a while. And like I said, I think it's just a thing where like I don't care. Like I think Jason Aaron's good, so I'm happy you're gonna keep the book and give it a try. I wouldn't just up and pick up the book because of this. Like it's
No.
not interesting to me. Like I also do feel like I've liked how it's been going, and you know, if I had my druthers, I would rather Thor stay Thor just because I just don't know how much I'm gonna buy into like this, you know, just the changing of like the kind of the rules of Thor that are gonna go into like making it this way. But at the same time, like I said, if somebody has the book and decides they want to drop the book, I don't think they should take shit for it. And it doesn't have to immediately become this conversation of like, I'm gonna wait for the first person that says, I don't want to buy Thor because it's a girl, and then write 1,000 blogs about misogyny. Because would you buy Wonder Woman if it was a dude? Answer me this. You would.
No.
No. But anyways, that was one thing that happened today. And then the other thing that happened last week, which I was at least happy that some facts just brought out, and it seemed for once the comic community kind of like defended someone and people didn't automatically start blasting, was the fucking Rick Remender shit. So Remender's writing Cap. I know a lot of people call Remender's a guy in comics who it seems that you either love or you hate. A lot of people think Remender's terrible, hate all the books that he does, blah blah blah, whatever. You know, already thinks that he's like a misogynist for the way that he writes books. You know, basically I think in general just because the guys like girls in the books, and so that bums people out that they try to sleep with the attractive girls. But which I still don't understand. I think a lot of people says that, or you don't think he's like an X-Force Psylocke as the main character was the most powerful character. You know, like I think he writes women just fine, but just my opinion. But a big controversy erupted over Captain America, which I guess we're talking about that book today. I believe so.
Captain America, yeah, I don't have it in my pile, but I remember it. It was one of the others I forgot to grab.
Yeah, but I mean, essentially in it, so you have the Falcon.
The Falcon and Jet Black.
And Jet Black. Jet Black's a character from Dimension Z, where there's totally different rules. A lot of people are confused over her age. Shouldn't have been that confusing, like on the panel. You might have been confused before then, but on the actual panel, she talks about the fact that, you know, she's been drinking since she had her first drink when she was 23, which means she's either 23 or older. It's right there. But then because people found the reason to get mad, some dude wrote an article about how Remender just had, and also completely misserved the scene, how the Remender had made the Falcon rape an underage girl. And then a bunch of people who obviously either didn't read the comic or too stupid to comprehend a scene got on it, and then this Fire Remender thing. I look at Fire Remender is a trending thing on Twitter, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then read it and look into this, and I'm like, huh? And then you immediately see somebody put an article, and it still trends for like all day, where people are still coming in. I can't believe he did this, and also I can't believe he destroyed the character. Like the Falcon would never do something like this. Hey, the Falcon's not real, motherfucker. He'll do whatever the writer says. That's another thing I hate about comics, is people are like, I know so-and-so, and they would never do this. You don't know them because they're fake, and whoever's writing it gets to 100% decide what they're going to do. It's their decision. It's not your fucking decision what they would do. You sound like someone who's like, you know, whose child murdered someone. You're like, well, I know my kid, they didn't murder it. Well, I've got on the video. Watch the video. Yeah, that's not him. That's your kid.
Yeah,
it's
like
just
it was literally a case of a bunch of sexually frustrated nerds.
Boys and girls.
Yeah, taking their frustrations out and just creating and manufacturing this whole issue that wasn't even there.
And if you read the scene, she's 23, and she gets the Falcon drunk so she can fuck him.
He
wakes up the next day and kind of regrets it. It's not even like a situation where he passes out and they do something. It's just, note to the world, sometimes when adults drink, it makes people horny and they want to have sex with each other. And just because you regret it the next day doesn't mean it was some fucking terrible sexual decision. Like, it doesn't mean that somebody was like raped or taken advantage of. People actually make mistakes that aren't anyone's fault but their own. And, and that was kind of the situation there, which it turned around later, but eventually when the Falcon wakes up, he's like, oh no, like, I didn't want it to go here. And she's like, yeah, I did. Like, that's what I wanted the whole time.
It was beautifully written. I loved the scene,
It was
actually,
fine.
myself. I'm loving his Captain America.
Yes.
I think like people really need to get off of his ass. I really don't understand what the hard-on is for him.
I think if you've kind of read past issue 12, where it took a while to get going and, whatever, but since then, it's been everybody who's kept reading it's really loved it and thought it was stellar.
This is a weird thing to say, but because it's not that now, and I don't mean that he's a 90s style comic, but his comics would not have gotten any of this backlash in the 90s. That all of his shit would have been considered artistic and fucking edgy, and you know what I mean? Like, but not in the way that it's like, oh, that's so 90s and excessive and whatever. It's like it would have been considered like of the best, most brilliant shit of the time.
And I also feel like this too, man. I feel like this, and I know harping on about stuff on the podcast makes so differently. I'm 100% aware and 100% for feminism. Guys definitely have it easier than girls. Girls have a lot of fucked up things happen to them because of guys. But it's stuff like this that like make the people that like you need to educate about that stuff like turn their head because they get annoyed by the things that aren't like this is crying wolf.
Crying wolf over a comic book when there are women who are being enslaved and trafficked.
Yes, and when there are other comics that do have fucked up things that happen that you might read and go, yeah, this is a bad representation of something. Like, here's what I'll say, and it could be something that would make someone mad, but I just, like, seriously don't, it's hard to ask anyone, even, like, however big our audience is, not to immediately react and, 5 seconds later form your opinion, but, like, think about for, like, 5 minutes. Give it 5 minutes of your life to think. If, like, a woman had written this comic, would people's natural reaction have been like, oh, this is like a grown woman, like the Falcon is like this nice guy who, is kind of like, he's laid back and doesn't want to take advantage. He's got like old-fashioned values. If a woman would have written this book and this young girl would have went and, went and hung out with him, kind of got what she wanted, and woke up the next day and brushed it off and was like, oh, it's fine. Like, this is just, we hooked up. It's fine. If a woman would have written that scene, would it have been like progressive and really like you would have been like, oh, like what's the character's name?
Jet Black.
Jet Black. She's a strong woman. Like she's took the man's role. She went in, hung out with him, kind of got what she wanted. Told him like you can freak out, but I'm fine with what happened. Like that's what I wanted. I'm good. If a woman would have written that, I feel like people would have like applauded it as being like this is like a modern woman who's has control over sexuality.
And not that it shouldn't have been, but
that should be the reaction, yes. But because it's Remender, the reaction is like, oh, it's like I can't believe like you did this like disgusting thing to this girl, and it's like,
well, and like they like headline grab on him, like the internet sites have a hard on for him because, I didn't see one fucking news story after the finale of Uncanny Avengers that was said, oh, by the way, all those characters you freaked the fuck out over him killing, like Rogue and Wasp, are actually back to life because they went in time and fixed it. And because that's what happens in Remender stories typically. But, he still always gets that shock value out of you.
But he also does such a good job, too, man, where he kills characters off. He does, like, one of the really hard things to do in modern comics where you still feel, man. In Uncanny X-Force, every character that died, you still emotionally like felt it, even though you knew they were gonna come back, and that's so hard to do now because everybody's coming back, and he still pulls it off. But
it was a giant controversy.
Instead of enjoying the story and staying within the art, like watching a movie, instead of sitting there and if something happens to, if something that's just. It's just an art in general, man.
It's like pausing a movie when somebody gets killed and going to complain about
before the movie. Exactly, and that's how everything is now. People watch it. Everyone like it's a double-edged thing because I think that people are far too sensitive to criticism. It's like now, if you don't like something and say you don't like it, you're a hater
or a basher.
You're
whatever the fuck that is.
You're bitching at stuff. Like you can't say that you disagree with someone's creative decision. Also, like it's another thing too where, if a chick writes a comic and you say, "Oh, I don't like this. I don't like that the character did this," then you're mansplaining. That's like one of the most one of the worst pop culture things I've heard in forever is this dude was mansplaining to me, like blah 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 blah. As it's like I was, can you not give your opinion on something anymore, like without it being like a, oh, I can't believe you blah 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 blah. Like I can't believe you didn't like 100% embrace this and like tell me you loved it and like whatever. But at the same time, where I think people can't take any sort of criticism, like no matter what, people just do not. I don't know why some people go to the movies or watch TV or buy comics or anything, because people can't stay within the story. Like if you're watching a movie and your favorite character dies, the old reaction or the reaction when you really like something is you're fucking sad. You know, it's like, oh no, like you killed off this person I like. When you're watching a fucking TV show, you're like, no. When you're reading The Walking Dead, you're like, no, why did you do that? Like you're bummed out. But that's a small percentage. The large majority of people are like, I can't believe you would do this. I can't believe that creatively you decided to do something I didn't like, and now I'm gonna fucking like bitch about it instead of
because it's all about me.
Yeah, or when a character they like decides. Also, any character with any depth, like you can't have the depth of like having anything like bad inside of you. Like if a character like, if Iron Man started drinking again, and that was like he relapsed, people would immediately be like, you just destroyed this character. They spent 40 years to turn into a good person, instead of like looking at it like you're actually enjoying the art and being like, oh no, he's a person. He had something bad happen to him. I hope he comes back from it. It's just that. It's
yeah, instead of identifying with characters and going on the ride with them, like there's this whole fucking trend of people thinking they got some kind of ownership over them, and it's like, we don't own art, like Marvel Comics owns those characters.
That's true.
Like we can love them and appreciate them, or we can hate them.
Another thing that kills me is like the characters can't have like any flaws. Like watching like True Detective, like I just saw like a lot of the outrage over that show, which is another thing which, with my like new job, talking to people about that show, like almost everybody in the class, like race, gender, whatever, because these people don't go read like Twitter about it, like all just liked it. Like they were, just talking to like some of the girls in my class, they were never aware that like there were a lot of people that just thought it was like a big, misogynistic show that, treated women terribly, where, it's like the characters aren't the artists. They have like all different characters. They don't represent necessarily their feelings on things. You can't like, if you're like a good person, if every character in your book is just a good person, never does anything bad, you've got a boring book that I don't want. You gotta have some people. But that was like a thing on it, was like, people were saying that fucking like Matthew McConaughey's character in it like was a piece of shit. Because
No, he was human and
because he was human and had mistakes and had demons and stuff. Yeah, or that Woody Harrelson was. Yeah, Woody. It's like that he's a piece of shit. It's like, well, he was a piece of shit husband and a piece of shit father, and he also called some child rapists. So you kind of weigh the things out. You're like, yeah, he has a lot of good and a lot of bad, but it's like I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like it feels like in this day and age, like you could come back from being a cold-blooded murderer. You can murder a few other dudes because they owed you like money, and people could figure out that you're actually a good person. But if you treat your girlfriend bad, then there's no coming back. You had one bad relationship and you're dead. Anyways, we've got so many comics.
Yeah, we'll
get off the soapbox on this stuff, but let's see. I guess that was the majority of news. There's just a bunch of announcements and stuff like that. Oh, and like every single person minus Snyder that's ever written a Batman book in the past year is writing an issue of a fucking Death of Wolverine series. Like you can already see the Mike Marks being on Wolverine. You look at the list of like Death of Wolverine, Death of Wolverine, blah 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 blah, Jade Sidious, Death of Wolverine, blah blah, Kyle Higgins, Death of Wolverine, blah blah blah, Marguerite Bennett. It's just anyone who's touched Batman besides Snyder in the past few years is on that, so it's kind of funny. We'll get into the books. Try to go through all these kind of quick since we have a billion. Starting out with Marvel. Daredevil number 5 continues to be really good. Key to this issue, we find out what actually happened to Foggy Nelson, which is something that I've been wondering for about 6 issues now. So there's that. All New X-Men, number 29. A book that, although I like it, is getting dangerously close also to my drop list because many spoilers. In this book, they kind of stop the future X-Men again. And you find out what's been going on with them. And it seems as if they kind of send them back to the future. And then immediately while they're in the future, they make their plans for coming straight back to the past. So I'm just getting tired of it. I'm just getting old. Can we get the fucking future X-Men out of this? They've been here for like 20 issues now. They keep sending them back and they keep coming back.
Yeah, they seem like they're just kind of biding time because meanwhile
They're
over in
fucking treading water
Uncanny
until
you
they-
have all of this cool shit going on with like Magneto and the Brotherhood and like
Yeah.
there's some real formidable villains.
They're
but
treading water until the next goddamn event that I'm going to have to buy. So it's getting on my nerves. That was a crazy cat. Just about made us. That's, once again, it's freaking dangerous to get your pulls out here outside the compound. You never know what's going to happen. Amazing Spider-Man number 3. Liked it. Like I said before, have really been enjoying the Peter Parker being back in the book. I don't know if that makes me a if that makes me a fucking guy with no foresight that I like Peter Parker being a Spider-Man. I guess that makes me a fucking dick. You can't see the future, but I like it. Now he's back. It's been good. And then Moon Knight. God, it was so good.
yeah.
God, there's not a bigger bummer right now in comics. The fact there's only one more of these beautiful issues, man. This was like an A+ action movie, all within 20 pages of comic.
That was the best issue of it so far too.
It was so good, and there's only one left. Warren Ellis, Declan Shalvey, Jordy Belair will be leaving, and to say that I'm sad is an understatement. I just can't. That's one that I just can't imagine like still liking without them on the book, so it probably won't survive. Although I would be okay with Warren Ellis and Declan Shalvey and Jordy Belair just continuously launching books. Like I'll take 6 issues at a time of their stuff if they're gonna be like this. Like it's that one just it killed me with goodness. So.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. I mean, everyone knew Warren Ellis on anything is going to be good, but I don't think anyone saw what that Moon Knight was going to really be capable of. So
It's been really incredible.
pretty awesome. I'll go back to the X-Men universe for a moment. Amazing X-Men number 9.
It's amazing.
World War Wendigo saga continues, and this was a crazy issue. Wolverine got stuck up in Canada in the last issue fighting a bunch of Wendigos, and as they come to find out, the whole population keeps getting bit and they're spreading it, so it's like some crazy shit. And Alpha Flight comes to help them, and
It's like, hey, we're here.
it doesn't end well for Alpha Flight, unfortunately, even though they're trying to be cool, so it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, Alpha Flight often takes the heat.
Then Thor God of Thunder number 24, The Last Days of Midgard Epilogue, the last issue before this book goes on hiatus.
And then comes back with Lady Thor.
And comes back with Lady Thor. This is essentially wrapping up the loose ends of the Thor versus the Roxxon Corporation war, and it's kind of setting the plate for what's to come in the book. As of the end, he still has powers and everything, but you'll see that the Minotaur dude who ran the Roxxon Corporation he wasn't all the way out, and he had a fucking evil troll working with him, so that's never good.
Yeah.
Deadpool number 31, Original Sin, keeps going. Storyline's still good, but not real big fan of that $3.99 price tag, and it's a book that's kind of treading water now. It went from being excellent to it could be on the chopping block.
Yeah, it's been mired in gimmicks, and now it's been stuck in an event for seems like a minute. Like
The Original Sin is really minimal. I mean, it's been pretty much the same story that they've been telling.
Right.
It's
They
just
just
like
get to stick that on the top of the book.
the events like in the surrounding world.
I did see where there were some like comic shops comic shop owners had been complaining where they felt like a lot of the people like that were coming in the shops felt like Marvel was like trying to intentionally trick people into buying tie-ins that weren't even necessarily tie-ins, like just to get like the extra buys. So
Yeah,
like
that
calling
sounds
something
about right.
Original Sins instead of Original Sin like made a lot of people mad because apparently a lot of people bought the first couple Original Sins and were like, wait a minute, this is a different miniseries, like you motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's really irritating.
Yeah.
Well, another book that'll be coming off the pull list just because it's ending, Winter Soldier, The Bitter March Part 5, the Rick Remender miniseries. This was the big finale, wrapped up with tragic fireworks as only Rick Remender can provide. Highly recommended, A-plus book. Ties into Captain America.
Hate it if you wanna.
Yeah, hey, you would be wrong. But,
Yeah.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's all I had in the Marvel world.
All right, man. Well, over to DC. A couple quick. Went on a big trip to Nashville. Hit up a bunch of different comic stores there. Things I picked up that I missed originally. This Superman Lois Lane one shot written by Marguerite Bennett. It was okay. It was a pretty decent little story, but it didn't really have like an end. I didn't feel like it just kind of went out with a whimper. So for $5, not necessarily worth the buy. But
Yeah, I would agree.
it was decent, but I mean, I've liked the stuff Marguerite Bennett's done for the most part. She's been popping up, but she hasn't written that many comics yet. So, but yeah, I just didn't really dig the end of that story. Superman Unchained, number 7 of 9, a book that feels like it's been going since I started buying comics 3 years ago. But it's worth the wait, man. This one was badass.
Oh yeah, that was
It was so good. It was definitely the most badass of the whole series.
a little taste of Batman in there, which is nice.
You got some Batman in there, and that kicked ass. And of course, you know, it's always worth waiting on the Jim Lee artwork. That's totally worth it. And then it had like definitely the best moment of the series, which was actually, I guess, a Batman moment. Well, you got to see Superman really kick some ass, which is great. And then towards the end of the book, I mean, you basically have Batman and Wonder Woman are having a fight without Superman.
Against Wraith.
Yeah, against Wraith. And I guess it's not. Maybe this is Snyder's like comments, maybe a little bit on Man of Steel. You know, from the Man of Steel preview in the movie, one of the big things was, you know, Superman like with the S symbol. You know, where they'd written for that it was on Krypton. You know, S means hope. And in this, we have Wraith takes a look at the S symbol sitting there, and you know, it says, "What's that?" And Batman says, "It's a symbol. It stands for you're about to have your ass kicked." And so that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was much better. I wish they would steal that for the Superman Batman movie.
Yeah,
and rewrite that. Like,
that would be amazing.
I actually think it means this, that you're about to have your ass kicked. But that was wonderful. Also, Sickin' with Soups. Action Comics number 33, the continuation of the Doom thing. This is the next part of the story, Super Doom, which basically for 2 issues, it and Superman and Wonder Woman, Clark is in space trying to fight off the Doom virus in his body, trying to get rid of it. And I think it's particularly Superman and Wonder Woman this week, he has some good Clark to Doomsday, like in his brain talks, you know, with himself that are pretty good. And then, you know, of course, as you would imagine, he's getting called back towards Earth to kind of deal with it. And this only has 1 or 2 issues left for the story. But I've really enjoyed it so far. Like, I think it's a new cool spin on Doomsday. And BT Dub, if you have 1,000 Man of Steel issues, like I think 17 and 18, which is the appearance of Doomsday, which is worth like $1 a few weeks ago, those things are shooting up because there's the rumor that Doomsday is going to be the bad guy in Man of Steel 2, which is a little ways away, but because that's a rumor, you know, there's probably only about 1 million of that book out, you know, but that was his first appearances, you know, before he broke Superman, or before he killed Superman. So those things have all of a sudden gone up. People are paying $50-$60 for what is certainly you can probably still find for $1 in a lot of back issue bins. So,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, pick that up.
You want to stay in the Superman realm? I just had one of those to keep it all together. There, I had Smallville number 4 of the Lantern storyline, and that was the finale of that. And
they took Smallville off Netflix. Those pieces of shit. Although I own all.
When was it on Netflix?
A while ago.
Oh,
but
damn!
It was on there. They still have like Supernatural and Arrow and stuff. Maybe because it ended. It might have actually been a minute since it's been on Netflix. It might have been once the show ended, they stopped putting it on there.
Oh,
I
quite
went back
possibly.
I went back to watch it the other day the easy way, and then I had to get up and go to my bookshelf and get the DVDs out like I was 2005 March.
Hey, I still got them all, man, and I'll watch them from time to time.
Yeah, me too. Some of mine's got some scratches from lending them out to a bunch of motherfuckers. I got a couple episodes that won't play.
But this was, I really enjoyed this. This was like the culmination so far of what I would call the expanded Smallville universe, like everything they've built in the comics in addition to the mythology that the show built. So you have like this massive fight with all of the Justice League, and like this is really the first time they all get together and fight. And then you also have like Green Lantern John Stewart who joins them, and fucking Sinestro and Parallax, and the whole fucking Sinestro Corps comes down, and yeah, it was really fucking awesome. Like, but the Justice League is like Chloe and Oliver and fucking Clark and Batman and fucking Nightwing and fucking it ruled. So yeah, I was really happy with this one, and of the books, like not even in continuity, but I was like, man, Smallville's not tied to anything, but there's no way I could drop this book.
Keeps
dude.
delivering the goods.
Yeah, it's no way I could drop
great
it.
show that was such a long time. Yeah, I started, of course, you remember watching the show episode 1, and yeah, it's just great that like that's now that's 12 years later, you still get that universe going, which hardly ever happens with anything. So that rules. Remember, I had Green Arrow number 33. It was good. That was it. Did you read this one?
Yes.
Yeah, you read this one. Yeah, I mean, it's been continuing the story. I've just loved Lemire's run on this, man. They've taken like a book that nobody cared about and made it an A book. So sad that they're leaving. New creative team's coming, but maybe it'll stay good. I guess go over real quick to some Bat books. Grayson number 1 dropped this week. Here's what I'll say about Grayson. I do love Dick Grayson is my favorite DC character, so this is a book that definitely gets like a longer line to drown itself before I would actually drop it, because I just want to get the book because I just need that. And it could get interesting. And I love Tim Seeley. I really like all of his stuff. And the art in this is great. If you look at it, like the art, like it's got like beautiful colors, and I like the way everything's drawn. It looks great, but so far, man, I'm just not interested in the story. Like it's just, they're kind of making him more of like a Winter Soldier. He's more of what's like a James Bond type character. It's kind of like his spy character in the book and stuff, and like. We'll see. Like, I'm going to give it time to play out, but the story so far and with just the inner workings of, how he's, having to work for this agency, but he's actually trying to get into this one it just doesn't seem like why is Dick Grayson involved in this. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's just, it's just whatever. It's like I get Velvet on my pull list, and I'm like, that's a master's class on how to do spy stuff, and then this is like, it's whatever, but it's like, this is like the network TV version of a show from HBO. So that's what Velvet's like, the HBO version of this is a spy drama. This, Grace in the first issue, I feel like is watching that spy drama on ABC, where I'm just like, I mean, the guy's got, the lead actor's got charisma, but I just know this, I only have time for this, for so many shows, and I'm not watching this one. So we'll see. Like I said, it looks great. It's definitely worth for the art. I trust Tim Seeley's gonna write something interested, but
oh yeah,
it just feels like so convoluted and just not. It's one of those books where I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's just so against like what, like I just don't really care. So we'll see. Like it's gonna pick. It's gonna have to definitely pick up to like remain on my pull list like long term. But apparently it sold great, so good for them because hopefully Tim Seeley's getting those resids. He deserves it just off revival alone. But,
yeah.
Then over to Detective number 33, Icarus. Staying badass, man. It's Manipal and Buccellato are just really knocking this out of the park so far.
They're one of my favorite teams in all of comics.
Like I got sad they're taking a 2-month hiatus. you know, because it's just keep the same
They
art,
did
which
it
I'm
on
fine.
Flash a
They don't
lot,
flash
yeah.
it, so they fucking draw their own book instead of having somebody come in and guess, you know, draw for a month or whatever. They take a little break, get the story written out, get ahead on the art a little bit, so that you know their books are going to come out on time.
Well,
And
they had like a guest artist from time to time, or Bicheletto would do it, or like sometimes they would like split and have. They did a really crazy thing a few times where they'd have just like a normal looking artist come in and draw most of the issue, and then like for the big impact page, they'd like bleed his work into something that Manipal did,
yeah,
and so it was like made it that much more epic. So they're really smart and creative with the way they lay out stuff, even if they do have guest artists in there from time to time. Like they'll make it worth it, I promise.
yeah, this book is so great. You get to see you know, what we've seen a little bit before is a biker game kind of moving into Gotham with the fact that Gotham's like, you know, and this all tie into the Bat universe, which they've done a really good job since Eternals come out, where we know that the Penguin's empire's kind of crumbled, and then with Falcone back, you know, he's kind of got control, but there's also some stuff going on where he doesn't have complete control. So now, makes sense, you know, biker gangs coming to town because they see where they can get a piece of the action, and that's where you really have to deal with that really bad. And Harvey Bullock is kind of the co-star of the book with Batman, which is great. I mean, that's a character that you know hasn't been utilized a lot in the New 52, and you see him, and he's getting a backstory and everything, and I've just really enjoyed so far that that whole thing, and the art is so good, man. Like, I mean, this page right here, I'm sure it would cost like $1,000, but like this is like a page that I would just love to own. Like, I mean, that's just he does such good
Yeah.
such good splash pages, and even that's like you know just half a page, but like this is pin up a Batman. The art is just so incredible, and like I said, I mean the writing's great, and you know I really love like how they've incorporated Harvey Bullock into the story and started giving him a little bit more of a backstory and everything. So it's great. They're really taking care of Batman and Superman right now, and that is fantastic.
Hell yeah, they are. And speaking of, on to Batman Eternal number 13 and 14. Now, you read 13, and I cannot give away anything that happened in 14 other than to say that essentially, like, if Batman Eternal was collected in one giant collected edition, this would be the end of the first, like, huge story. So
Right.
it really everything they've been building to so far culminates in 14.
I guess it's about halfway there because I think I saw the solicits where I believe the first Batman Eternal collected paperback is going to be like 28 or 29 issues. So this is probably it's 52. So this is probably the first of like four big long kind of like you know parts as the first quarter's over.
Yeah. 14 was crazy. 13 was awesome too. Of course, you see the reemergence of James Jr.,
Yeah, he's really like fucking sticking it to his dad like crazy.
who's stuck in prison with him, which is just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
these books have been like the joy of comics, like just all wrapped up into what it's all about.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is just like to have such like a high level of entertainment on a weekly book is really amazing, and it's really like great work by like all the people involved. And is this like has this been the story? Is it over yet? Is this the end of maybe Layman's story?
Quite possibly,
Because I
yeah.
think he'd written the last couple. I think that he'd written 3 or 4. Like I don't know. I think on maybe the inside you can tell who actually wrote because you know it has the different people. Yeah, this is still Fox, Layman, Seeley. I know that. I guess Kyle Higgins is taking Layman's spot for like the next part of the book. So, but yeah, this has been incredibly good so far. So, yeah, this is just crediting everybody. I thought on some of these that it kind of credited
Yeah,
some people
I'd
more.
never seen
Okay,
that.
this one was a James Tinian script, so
Okay.
he's back on the script writing for this one. So, big ups to Tinian.
Yeah,
This is really good.
it's just like you.
And once again, we'll come in again. Issue 14, this cover of the Penguin is so great.
And the Penguin, oh my god, you just gotta read it. I'm not gonna spoil it. We'll talk about it later in the next issue when we can kind of recap it
Yeah.
all. And then my last DC book was Justice League United number 3. Not bad, but not fucking great. And there's one more issue to go before the first arc is over, and this book is off of my pull list. goodbye. I like you, Lemire, but you've always let me down on team books. I don't know what's up with
Right? Yeah.
that. And it's like, I mean, it's a lot of my favorite characters. God, you got Green Arrow, Animal Man, Martian Manhunter, Supergirl. I mean, those are people I like. So, why don't I like this book?
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's see. Jumping over to the creator-owned books. Start out with some books from a couple weeks ago that I just didn't get to due to having a fucking 9-to-5 job now, like an adult, like a real contributor to society, or like an asshole.
Or like a real asshole.
A real asshole. Yeah, but Revival number 21, Big City Revival. It was a really good issue.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. He got attacked by a bug out here.
I got retweeted by Tim Seeley quoting that issue.
Nice.
The quote where the old guy is like, I can't remember his fucking name, and he's like, I thought you quit drinking. And he goes, no, I didn't quit drinking. I stopped drinking shitty alcohol with assholes.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, this issue's awesome. Got Dana Cypress goes to New York, trying to get some extra info on what's going down, helping out with an investigation, trying to tie the revival stuff together, and then we find out that the shit's spreading because there's a reviver in New York, and one of them's stalking her, so that's really good.
Yeah, man, that book is just so crazy. And
it stays really good, man. Like, it's an off-the-wall one, I know, like, I guess, it sells pretty good. It's still going, 21 issues in. It's one that I feel like deserves a little bit of a bigger audience, but I think it's one of those, like, it's just, it's in that realm of sci-fi that, like, you kind of got to be nerdy about it to stay with it. Like, I could see, without naming names, I feel like I certainly have friends that I give comics to that I wouldn't give this to because I'm afraid they just wouldn't understand. It would be too much for them to keep up with. I feel like that would be a problem with some people.
Yeah, it's like a great ongoing TV series that keeps revealing the mysteries very slowly.
Yeah, exactly. But I love it. I'm so glad that it keeps coming out. It's a double buy for me. I got, I guess, like 7 or 8 things I double buy, but it's one. I saw they've already previewed the next big hardcover with, like, another 11 issues, and gotta pre-order that. Then Cal number 2, man. Like, this book, she really stepped it up, man. It got way more interesting, and once again, nobody draws a city like Rod Reese, man. He's making Chicago look fabulous in the whole book, so loved it. And of course, going out saying one of the best books there is, Saga number 20 came out. It's really gone, like, in a direction, man. Like, it feels like a very different book than it did at the beginning, but yet still really, really great. Now I guess you're starting to see the seeds planted for the eventual breakup. Spoilers, but if you read one issue, you find out that our heroes in the story, that they end up breaking up. The mom and dad end up, Marco and...
yeah, you can see the seeds being planted in there for that.
Yeah, for that to eventually happen, so...
Marco and Alana?
Alana, that's correct. But they're going to end up breaking up eventually. So the seeds are planted there. As always, just a bunch of crazy things happening in this book. Like I said, it continues to be awesome. You got Marco hiding out with bandages on his face. And he's got a new nanny that he has a little dance with. The sparks fly there. Like you can tell, that's the beginning of the breakup. Alana's at work, kind of like taken in. She's becoming like a TV star, and, that's becoming awesome. And then you get a really awesome scene where Prince Robot's wife gets really brutally murdered as someone with a microwave for a head can get murdered.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where if you don't read Saga, it doesn't sound as cool as it was.
No, it was pretty insane.
But it was great, and so that happens, and that's really
Did you ever see the fucking Prince Robot cosplayers from Heroes Gone?
No, I wish I would have.
There's pictures. Look them up on the internet.
I'll have to look them
There's
up.
pictures.
That's
They had
fantastic.
working television sets on their heads. How fucking awesome is that?
That's the best. But yeah, man, that's just staying incredibly great. Nailbiter number 3. Another really good book, man.
Rules, dude.
Josh Williamson, man, he's got like 3 image books. I'm afraid to read any of the rest of them because I can't afford it. So he's got that Ghosted. He's got a new book launch in a couple months. Much like Rimeter's got that Low coming out in 2 weeks, his next Shredder own. And I'm just like, this looks like something I would enjoy if I bought it. there's, you know, $350 more a month to go to Rimeter's child having an education one day. Um, so I think I'm going to add number one to the list just to get, much like daily class. And if it's awesome, I'm going to try to make myself wait and get it collected.
First hit's $2.99.
Yeah, and the rest is also $2.99, but then they add up to all of a sudden you're paying $100 a month for comics, and you're like, I make an hourly wage. I'm not supposed to do this. So I'll finish out Lazis, number 9.
That would be Lazarus for those who don't go to our comic
for the 3
shop
people that
and
don't
get that
joke. Yeah, for the 3 people out there that get that joke, that being us 3 or us 2 and one other person. Not even Todd.
No.
Yes, but it's also, once again, wrapping up, man. You slowly see Forever, you know, starting to think for herself a little bit more and kind of see the behind the scenes action. And it's just like, this book's really good because the tension just keeps building where you know, like, some, like, true shit's going to go down before too long, and you just wonder, like, when it's going to happen.
That was the craziest issue of Lazarus yet, really.
Yeah, where
the guy was gonna like suicide bomb the place.
Yeah. And then we had a nice little fake out where you thought that one girl, she got shot, was dead, but no, and then she got saved. So, you know, it's really good, man. It's real. There's some real good creepy societal things.
You got some real crazy social commentary.
Yeah, exactly. That totally mirror like today, where you can be just like some sort of trash, but if you do something that like makes you interesting to people, then all of a sudden they don't really care anything about you, but the fact that you're interesting to people just want to be around you all of a sudden, you know. So that's great. And then my last creator owned American Vampire on second cycle, number 4, which is annoying. I don't know why this isn't number 36 or whatever, or however, but whatevs. I guess those number 1 sell better than number 37s in a row. But yeah, this story keeps getting better. Did you read this one?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
the last issue was
I won't
awesome.
spoil. Yeah, this one is also great, and you get to find out.
The Day Trader, is that the fucking...
Not the Day Trader.
The Gray Trader.
The Gray Trader. Yeah, the Day Trader is just trying to steal money from you. He's moving around money and getting rich off of not doing anything. Yeah, the Gray Trader. Yeah, that kind of resolves, you know, I guess temporarily, because you know that's probably going to keep going. Probably, I'm guessing, maybe this whole volume. And then Skinner kind of reveals something crazy. So it was a great issue, another great issue. So.
Awesome. Well, I had 2. One, we'll start.
I also had those.
Yes, you also did. We'll start with a Walking Dead number 129. That Walking Dead, though.
Things do not stay calm for long in The Walking Dead. They did for a minute. And
they did for a year, and people skipped it.
Yeah, exactly. And they did after the governor. They stayed somewhat calm, and people shat on it. So Kirkman's like, oh, you want shit to always happen? I'll make shit always happen. Yeah, we got some people. Yeah, I mean, this issue, if you've been keeping up, you know, if you haven't been keeping up, then never listen to us talk about it, because this podcast is always spoilerific. But yeah, if you're keeping up, Negan, you know, Rick got Negan. He's been in prison for a while, ever since the end of the last issue. What, it's been like a year and a half? Something? A year?
Yeah, I think it's 2 years.
2 years? It's been a minute. Long enough for Rick to look 30 years older. And then they just got some new people in town, and they found out they got one prisoner, and you know, and it's Negan, and like a dumbass, they don't guard him.
Well, Rick and Carl had to leave because Carl was going to go to the other community, and Rick's going to take him over there. Rick had a crazy moment in that issue, too, where he beats the dog shit out of one of the servants.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Like, Rick has picked up some of the traits of the crazies, but just doesn't take them to the next level. Like, Rick definitely is, like, borderline on some of his decisions. But, yeah, and then, you know, we'll find out. Nothing may happen, but there's also the possibility that some of these weirdos are going to let Negan out, and then Rick's not going to be there, so who the fuck knows what's going to happen if that goes down.
Yeah, another great cliffhanger ending there. Negan's still pulling the strings from even behind bars, and should have killed that sumbitch.
Yeah.
But the pick of the week for me, Southern Bastards number 3. Oh my God.
Yes, it stays great, and Southern Bastards where the coach will probably not all of a sudden become a female, which is something you can count on.
Yes, you can count on Bear Bryant as played by John Voight,
Yes.
who is the coach boss in this
Yes.
book.
Yeah, and this keeps getting more interesting. Like, they had a real fucking, you know, awesome thing where now he's carrying his dad's big stick around, and our hero, and he's not fucking around.
No, he really goes walking tall all over these motherfuckers with his big stick.
Yeah.
You also see a little more like the most you've seen out of the coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like it's just heating up too. You just that was the whole issue to show really what a badass Earl Tubb is.
Yeah.
But
that old bald bastard that's still kicking everyone's ass.
But also like what kind of fucking can of worms he just opened up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also great how I just love the fucking coach where he's just like, yo, word with that. I got a fucking game to get ready for. Like, I've got this whole criminal empire going on, but fucking leave me alone about that. Like, I gotta fucking figure out how to stop this fucking spread. It's also great too, man, because I'm a huge football fan and also a huge college football fan, and that is like, it's also, you can tell Jason Aaron is a big football fan because that's just perfect, like a thing that you hear, another like inside thing. If you like football, when a few years ago when the spread started, that was like, it was almost like you were committing a sin. You weren't playing the old-fashioned version of football. Like, how dare you not, go 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And, that's what this, the coach is, basically saying. He's like, these fucking motherfuckers, like, trying to, like, do things a different way in the football game. Like, it's just great. Like, Jason Aaron he's one of those writers, he just so, especially with stuff like this, man, the type of, like, characters he writes for the most part. I mean, he writes a lot of different characters, but the best ones, Wolverine, his Thor, like this, like that, kind of like it's overused, but kind of gritty, more like fucking down to earth, like guy, like, Sons of Anarchy type characters, just your old school, like hard drinking, fucking not scared to kick somebody's ass type guys. Like, he just has the voice of like those type of people down so well. That, and once again, in a creator-owned thing where it's just 100% his, like, he's really shining, like, more than he does on anything else, which he already does great. So
yeah, you got to give it up to Latour's artwork on this too. It's just raunchy and fucking. It's perfect for what they're going for, and one of the best new books out on the market.
It's great, man. Fucking read those Image books if you dare, because once you pick them up, you're just gonna fucking keep them forever.
Yeah, I gotta say, right now, if you're looking at ranking the big three, I mean, in terms of quality, Image is far and above number one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't read every Image book, but it's certainly, like, I mean, the large majority, 90% of things I try the first issue on, I just accept that that's $3 a month for the rest of my life until they decide to stop writing the book that I'm just going to have to give out for it. So.
And it's funny, about this time last year, I'd have said Marvel was right at about second, but...
I would say, yeah, Marvel might have been the best. I mean, this time last year, you think about, even though I didn't like Superior Spider-Man, a lot of people did, and then they had Hawkeye and Daredevil, and all the X-books were so good, and Thor and Cap. I might have said Marvel was the best, but right now, Marvel's...
DC is far and away got second place, in my opinion, in terms of overall book quality right now.
Yeah, I mean, I told you I was looking at my pull list, looking at how many fucking books I have now. I was like, Jesus. But...
I mean, at least what I get, I don't get all of DC books, so it's hard for me to say. But I mean, I get a lot of them, a lot, and they're all stellar.
Out of the ones we get, there's just so many good ones.
Yeah, like I have one that's just been okay, and it's getting in danger of getting dropped. I mean, you're talking about Aquaman, Flash, Batman Eternal, Smallville, Secret Origins.
Yeah, and then you even look at like what I get. I mean, Batman, Detective, Justice League. Superman, Wonder Woman, Action Comics.
Yeah, all of those
there's Green Arrow. There's just so many in the books, even Wonder Woman and Batgirl that I've been getting collected. There's just, I mean, I think people, if you really start counting the numbers, DC just has a lot of really great books right now. But Image, I mean, everything's just so different. Like DC, a lot of the books are great, but a lot of books are similar. Image, it's like every book is truly unique, and it's a story that you haven't heard before, and great. And it's also the thing about like a new world. Like when you first introduce something, it's always more interesting. But yeah, it's awesome. I guess that's it. Next week, we'll see if we pod again next week or if it's a 2-weeker.
Trying to get back on the weekly schedule, man. I really am. Like Midnight Black Mass is kicking back up, by the way. BeyondRingside.com. Check them out. They're partnering with us on the Midnight Black Mass. Coming back this week. Already scheduled. First interview, recording it tomorrow night. Ring of Honor superstar Corey Hollis will be the first guest on Volume 5 of the Midnight Black Mask. So, excited about that. Really want to get your pulls back on the weekly schedule. Just, had a lot of those stupid, pesky real life situations getting in the way. But
next week I'll have one pull. Not the mini pulls that I like to get, but one pull. Which would be a nice break for the wallet, but not a nice break for I got one pull. But I got a bunch of trades to catch up on, so it'll be a catch up week on non-pulls. But if you do have more than one pull, you should go get them.